Welcome to the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. You are now part of a small underground movement of dent technicians from all over the world. We are on a mission to change our industry with innovation, intelligence, and skill. But because we don't rely on an insurance company to steer customers our way, we need to do things different. We need to do things smarter. We do that through a network of technicians that we call the Tactical Tech Movement. Now let's get this revolution started. Hey, what's happening, everybody? John Hiley here with Angela Hiley in the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. Coming to you with an episode here, and it is Thursday night. And as usual, I just drop them whenever we're done with a podcast. I just upload it. So I don't know if you guys are catching it in the morning. I wouldn't assume anybody would be up late at night. Happen to get a notification, and
you never know.
Never know.
Never say never.
So we got Lucas Kaiser out there. I see his Instagrams.
Oh.
He could definitely be hanging out, partying, doing something.
Yeah.
So what is happening, everybody? Appreciate you guys coming along with another episode. And as usual, we just get in here and we fucking talk. Like, we don't.
No, I've been trying to get John in here, and he's like, it's just not the right time.
I got to be feeling it. I already told everybody
tonight's not the right time. No, I don't want to do one tonight. And then that day goes by.
Like we didn't.
I'm like, hey, let's go over to the shop and do another podcast.
Like, I'm just saying, we didn't do one last week, and I've been straight up with everybody. If I'm not fucking feeling like it, I don't fucking do it.
Yeah, but I want to do it.
Well, you know what, though? I could put you on here. I could just be quiet and you go.
No,
go. Come on.
That's not how it works.
Nope. Go ahead.
No, that's not how it works.
Come on, let's roll the podcast out. Let's go.
Stop. I don't like it when you put me on the spot.
Come on.
No, I need to take this drink of water. You say something.
Yeah, so
my throat's a little
you
dry.
guys see about how far that was going to go. But yeah. That being said, a lot of stuff going on now. What we're seeing as far as dent removal, the retail business is picking up quite a bit. Kind of interesting. I know a lot of you guys out there jumped on my website deal that I shot out about a week ago. So I've been busy as fuck. I've been coordinating all the website builds that we've had. Launching a lot of people, getting a lot of guys out there that wanted to, there's a lot of folks out there that didn't have a website, or they had one that just looked like shit.
It was janky.
And so I've been busy taking care of all that kind of stuff. And then, many of you guys know that we launched HailAds.com, and every other day we're onboarding a new client over there. And that's a good thing, guys, because, the beautiful thing is Hail is still crack-a-lacking. Some of the smaller storms, we've definitely seen what you see in a smaller storm, and but a lot of the bigger storms, we're seeing tons of action. Things are moving, and I think what I think is going to happen here on a lot of storms is, I don't know if it's been like this for you guys, but a lot of times when we had a hailstorm come through, I feel like I always had two waves,
Yeah.
Multiple waves, but like two big waves, meaning that we had the hail hit, and within that first week, we get that big wave, that big surge. And then almost depending on how big the hailstorm is, whether it's a month or 2 months into it, all of a sudden it slows down. It almost you start to think that, it's going to end. And then all of a sudden, bam, another wave just hits you, another wave just picks up out of nowhere. That's been my experience anyway. That's the way it's been for us. And honestly, I think this is going to be interesting, where you're going to see multiple waves, I feel. I think a lot of places, as they start letting up restrictions and things like that, people are going to be coming out and getting their cars fixed. And I even think, you're going to have this group of people that are going to be, weirded the fuck out,
Yeah.
They just went through, you're literally seeing people driving around with fucking gloves and a mask on, in their car, which is, we could just go on and on about that. It's like that, they go in and touch
people that wear gloves, they do not know the proper protocol when it comes to putting them on and taking them off.
Yeah, so they go touch all that shit in the store, and then they go rub it all over their car. You know, technically, you know, if you went in the store, anything you touched, then you would take the gloves off after you were done loading the groceries, whatever, touching the cart, all that other bullshit. You know what I mean? And there's so many like protocols on how to do that, but you'd literally just, you know, most people just have no idea. I think a lot of people are going to be somewhat traumatized after this. They're going to be weirded the fuck out, you know? So I think that's why I think there's going to be like multiple surges in a hailstorm. It's like you're going to have the people who, like me, who just don't give a fuck and are going to go out, get their car fixed, whatever, try to beat the herd. And then you got the next level of people who just can't wait for them to say that you give them the green light. You know, they can go out and start doing things, and they're going to get their cars fixed. And then you got the third people that, you know, they want their car fixed, but they're not willing to fucking risk it until they hear the news, you know, until shit starts tapering down, you know, in their world, in their mind. And so very interesting stuff. I'm just glad to see that, in my opinion, you know, and from the people that I talked to out there, actually had Biggs. He just came up recently, and Biggs is Anson.com, or Anson PDR Tools. You guys know Anson, Craig, and Christina over there. And one of their drivers, Biggs, he came through here because his credit card got, you know, fucking fraud shit on it. They were checking the statements. Somebody was like, you know, charging for shit, you know, in a different state, and they had to basically had to cancel his credit card. They had to ship me a new credit card so I can meet him over here and give him his new credit card because he's out on the road. And was talking to him, and, you know, I mean, this is a lot of hail that we got dropping early on. Mm-hmm. I hope it just continues like that. There was actually a comment made that I just can't quite get out of the back of my mind. Oh. And it was on a post in the Tactical Dent Tech group. I can't really remember the post, but I remember the comment. Yeah. And one of the guys actually commented and said, "I wonder if we're getting so much hail because the air is cleaner."
Huh.
Just an interesting concept to think about, you know? Like how does the environment affect the you know, our environment, right? So how does,
isn't it? I've seen an article where it said, I mean, I don't know if this article is true or not, but I read an article that out there in California, like, the smog was gone.
You know, and it got me to thinking. I'm like, damn, you know, I mean, if that's going to create a bunch of hail, then fuck it, let's have a pandemic every year.
No, John, we can't do that. Some people are not. Oh, shit.
Or let's just say God is trying to punish us, you know? Maybe
God's
he
not
can
trying to fucking punish us, John.
But what I'm saying is that, you know, wink, wink, he could rain down balls of ice.
Okay.
Really get us good, you know.
No, I like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
God, wink, wink, punish us with balls of ice here at the end. Not too big. I'm looking for, you know, let's say 60-mile-an-hour winds, quarter size, a little bit of side panel damage. How about you just sprinkle all the panels for me? Definitely get one side. Don't go as far as the rocker panels. Keep it above a certain line. Try to avoid body lines. Stay out of under, you know, do not do it under braces, which would be impossible.
You never know. Never say never. In this day and age, you just don't know what the hell will
God, that
next.
would really get us good. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Hey, who knows, right?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, recently, just today, I actually wrote a post, put it on my Facebook wall, and was talking a little bit deeper about that
it's
you know,
so
the you know, the mystery of the dark side of the human.
I think we touched a little bit on that the last podcast.
Well, yeah, you know, I've been reading more about it, though, you know, because I'm, like, curious. I'm, like, sitting here thinking, like, okay, well, like, I know what the dark side means, but what does it really fucking mean?
Yeah.
Does it mean that it's actually bad, you know? And
I don't think it's bad. You just have to have control of it.
Well, no. There's so much about the dark side that we haven't explored on this podcast.
Oh, well, do tell.
Okay, so there's so many things about the dark side. Technically, the dark side is anything that you hold back that you don't want the general public to know. I mean, do you remember like having a really good friend growing up, and you guys could just fucking tell each other all the bullshit, like anything that went through your head?
Yeah.
You guys could laugh about it, and, you know, nobody gave a fuck. There was no judgment there, right?
Yeah.
But when you got around other people, you just tame that shit down, you know, and you're that's literally you suppressing your dark side, because just because of the nature of you not wanting to put it out there is you accepting that people declare whatever you're feeling at that moment to be bad.
Oh, my thing totally would be like, man, I don't know if I can really trust you to like tell you this or not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure, but but if there's a level of distrust, it's that you almost feel that it's bad. It's your hidden. They talk about like when you're born bad. Like as a child, you're born fucking bad. And meaning that you're just born who you are. People teach you how to be good. So
conformity.
Yeah, well, yeah, and think about this. What would the dark side be? I was thinking about this earlier, right? If you want to compare the dark side of a child that was raised in a family that was in the Hells Angels biker gang.
I gotta turn the heat down. It's getting too warm in here.
Okay, go ahead. So literally, we're talking about if you compare a kid that was raised in the Hells Angels biker gang, right? Parents loved him, he was raised in the biker gang. He was raised with certain, codes of honor. He was raised with the way they think, the way that they do things, right? He was raised to be loyal. He was raised to not be a snitch, right? To not be a snitch. But then you got a kid that was raised in a perfect Christian home. Maybe his father was a pastor, right? And, them two people would have two totally different dark sides. They would have two totally different feelings they would shroud from the world. But do
you think that, like, because you brought up snitches, and I don't like snitches.
Sure. But then there's some people that would say, well, if you don't tell the authorities, then that's bad.
Like this whole fucking coronavirus thing. It's like the governors are like, come on, it's good to be a snitch. It's really good to go and be a tattletale.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. They're actually, and then there's people out there that literally feel like that's good. And
but
then there's people
not.
out there that feel that it's bad, right?
It's not. You should really just look the other way. In all honesty.
Well, that's your belief, though. That's your belief. So your dark side would be like if you wanted to go tell on somebody, right?
But I wouldn't do that, though. That was like in our neighborhood, one of our neighbors had some family members come over, and they were all sitting outside. It was a beautiful day in Ohio. They were all sitting outside in the driveway, in some lawn chairs, sitting there socializing, just catching up. Now, I could have been a fucking weirdo and called the popos on them and been like reporting them. And I'm like, no, they're out there enjoying themselves. They're not doing any harm. They're not hurting anybody. You just look the other way. You look the other way.
When we was kids and we found out that somebody snitched on us, you know what we would do?
You go and beat the living shit out of them.
Yeah, we would wait there and beat the shit out of them.
Because snitches are bitches. And they get stitches.
But see, that was like a code of conduct in my neighborhood. You know what I mean?
That's how it should be, though.
In fact, that was like a code of conduct amongst all my friends. It was like the worst thing that you would ever want to be fucking called is a snitch.
Yeah.
Because once you're labeled as a snitch, there was no going back from that.
No. You got that scarlet letter on you.
Yeah, and the people that I rolled with back then, they basically just, once you're a snitch, that shit would get around town, and everybody in that fucking town be waiting their turn to kick your ass.
Yeah, and then you're pretty much outcast. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, you're outcast.
It's just like you have to take responsibility just for yourself. As long as somebody is not getting physically hurt. Do you know what I'm saying? Like something really bad's going on, then you should not be snitching or calling the police on something that is just a bunch of fucking nonsense. So this whole coronavirus with the governors or whatever turning people saying it's okay to be a tattletale or being a snitch, that's a bunch of fucking bullshit.
Well, our governor, he looks like a snitch.
He probably is a fucking snitch, Mr. D. Weenie.
He looks like he's a Republican governor. But I can't help but look at him and want to punch him in his face.
Oh,
have you guys ever had somebody that you just looked at?
Just look at Mike DeWine and
you just wanted to grab him and punch him in the face. And this is even before, to be honest with you, I hate to say it, and I'm going to say it.
Go ahead.
But I pay so little attention to this shit that I really didn't even know who the fuck he was until this whole coronavirus shit came along.
Yeah.
And if I did, it may have been vaguely. It may have been because I happened to walk into a rest stop and glance at the board. But I'm the kind of person, I'm so selective with shit that I'll actually absorb. So
Yeah.
I could stand there and probably at one point look at Mike DeWine, look them in the face, probably wanted to punch him in the face back then, just because of the way that he looks.
I think he's
But-
he's a little guy too. He's not very tall, so he probably has little man syndrome
Well,
too.
see, I'd probably feel bad then if he was a little guy, but I still
I think he is a little
I wouldn't
guy.
punch him in the face, but something about his face makes me want to punch it.
I think he's only like as tall as me. He might be a little bit taller than me. He's not very tall at all. He's a little guy.
He just got one of them heads that just
Oh, dear
it
God.
looks at you and you say, God, I just want to fucking punch you. Like literally, if you stuck his head on top of like a, you know how they have like martial arts studios, they got them
Yeah.
rubber man, whatever, like things that you can beat up, punch on.
Yeah.
They should like put his head on top of one of them.
Yeah.
Like you would literally come in and take all your aggression out on it every day. You would just look at it and be
That
like,
is true.
fuck you,
I think a
motherfucker.
lot. Yeah, I think a lot of people here in Ohio feel that way about this man.
Well, you know, I think a lot of people in Ohio are tired. I mean, there's the mixture, you know. It's like you got these folks that are completely on the opposite side. I understand where everybody's coming from. That's
Yeah.
the interesting thing, because that's the reason I haven't really got in the whole debate. I have my own personal beliefs, but my personal beliefs could be bullshit. And I totally am okay with that, right?
Yeah.
Like I have my own beliefs, and really, at the deepest core of it, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like we talked about this in the previous podcast. I just refuse to let the fear sink in between my ears.
I think my biggest thing with this whole thing is as myself, I do not like it when somebody feels that they have some type of authority over me
That pisses me
and
off
they're
too.
giving me restrictions of something that I can and cannot do.
I have felt that rage. And,
So
and it's
that's
shit
where that's how I
Yeah.
feel about this whole thing. Like it really pisses me off. I mean, it really does.
and it's like shit that I don't give a fuck about, that I don't even care. It's like, I'm like, what? They said they're not going to open up a med spa? Those fucking bastards.
Well, I know a lot of hairdressers and stuff like that own their salons, and you know,
my barber is the underground motherfucker.
I know, but the thing is that they probably would have done stuff, and people look the other
But
way.
they're all snitching each other out.
But there's a lot of hairdressers that will. My hairdresser told me this, that are going and snitching people out. So it's like, you know.
See, I can't do it. You know, there's some people that can morally do that. Like, I just don't, I can't do it. Like, even if it was some sort of competitor or competition,
Yeah.
because it's just ingrained in my personal belief at such a deep level
Yeah.
that, you know, that's a moral code that you don't break.
Yeah. Unless they're doing something like I said, something doing really bad. Like if they're hurting another person and you've seen it, of course, you're probably going to run over there and intervene and then be calling, 911 at the same time.
I have been wanting to do a citizen's arrest.
I've wanted to do one of those for a long time.
And I've told you about this. A citizen's arrest just sounds like
shit.
something like amazing to participate in.
Yeah, I guess it would. Yeah.
It's like, I'm doing a citizen's arrest. Everybody down on the ground. You just get to be like a cop for one day, you know?
That is true. That's true. That is true. On the other hand, though, I am kind of annoyed because, Jonathan is a senior this year. So, his last day of school is May 20th. And he doesn't really care about graduation. He was kind of bummed about not going to senior prom, which I completely understand. But I'm more bummed about the whole graduation because I'm like, I put a good full dedicated 12 years when he got into school, and it was like highs and lows with his teachers. And there was some that I about got into physical altercation with. But, I was looking really forward to seeing him walk across that stage and get his damn diploma. And the fucking governor took that away. Like, that pisses me off. Like, that really pisses me off. So
I would have enjoyed that if I was a kid, if I would have just got my diploma. And not to mention, on top of that, they basically said that you don't have to fucking even pass.
Oh, yeah, they
You
were
know,
going to be graduating,
you're graduating
all
regardless,
seniors. Yeah.
which would have been great for me because I didn't graduate anyway. But
Yeah.
well, I did go get my, and it's so ridiculous. I actually,
You get your GED.
well, it's another thing. Like there I am. I'm like brainwashed at one point to think that I needed that fucking piece of paper, when literally I never needed it. Like there is not one time. I don't even know where the fuck it is.
Do you think maybe it had something to do with that superintendent telling you that you weren't going to amount to anything?
Well, when I grew up, it just seemed like when you filled out an application, they were always asking for a diploma, and I think I thought that people would actually want to see it.
And they didn't.
And nobody gives a fuck. Nobody wants to see that thing. You just check the box. Yeah, sure, I got a diploma. Okay, yeah. Whatever. And, the truth of the matter is, as an employer, the type of jobs, I guess, back then that I was applying for, I mean, they really didn't require a diploma,
No,
in all honesty, it wasn't long after that I started doing this. I mean,
yeah.
And to top it off, I mean, I was a manager at a car wash before I got into doing paintless dent removal. In fact, some of you guys may have heard the story, some of you guys may have not. But, I was a manager at a kind of like a full service car wash where, they sprayed down your car in the back, vacuumed out your vehicle, and then put it through. And then, we had employees up in the front that would dry your car off and, put shine on your wheels, whatever.
Clean your windows.
All that shit. And then, see, when I was early, this is young. So I think when I started working back at the Waterworks car wash, how old was I? I was like 20 years old. Was it 21?
I think you might have been. I think I was probably like 21, 22. So you would have been like 20 or 21 at the time.
Yeah, so I was 20 or 21 at the time.
Something
But see,
like
I worked there previously as a kid. I kind of had a on and off type job there. And interesting enough, I got like a really good job at a place called Dannon Yogurt. And then that didn't work out because of, some of my earlier podcasts. You guys have heard about my criminal career early on, being a street manufacturer or a street pharmacist.
Oh, you're selling LSD.
Yeah. So, many of you guys have heard that podcast before. I came out and told everybody about that. But a long story short, I lost my job there, went back to this car wash, and my wifey over here and my mom both didn't think it was a good idea, of course. And I just kept telling them, I'm like, no, I'm going to make this work. And
I think it was because we had a newborn baby. And for some reason, I thought like that was a good, secure job.
Right. So anyhow.
21 years old.
Yep. So I'm at the car wash, and I could probably, I don't remember the day, but I probably came home one day and told you, now I'm manager of the place, right?
Yeah.
Well, what I actually did was I got so pissed off at the type of employees were there because they were some fucking ghetto employees.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was a very nice wash. It was a $1 million operation. It was on a nice piece of land. It was in a town, really nice little town called Troy, Ohio. Still a nice town. And the wash is still there, but it's something else. They've sold it since. But I just got so fed up with the ghetto ass fucking. They were selling crack in there. I mean, there was like all kinds of little shit going on like inside of that. Imagine like a soap opera of ghetto employees inside of a car wash. That's what it was. So I got all pissed off one day because nobody was doing their job. They just weren't. So I just barged into the office. The owner was sitting in there. His name was Steve Kapler. I walked into his office and told him I want to manage this place. I was 20 years old. He looked at me. He goes, okay, go ahead. So I literally walked out there and started firing motherfuckers. Like I just walked out of his office, said, all right, man, appreciate it. Started firing people. And then all of a sudden, I got this, you can't fire me. You ain't the boss. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I am the fucking boss now. I said, to pack your shit up and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So they all went up into the office, and I followed right behind all of them. And I told him, I'm like, I'm firing him, her, him, and her.
Yeah.
And he's like, you heard him. So they had to all pack their shit and leave.
That's funny.
So we let them leave. I let a couple of them come back because, they were ultimately, some of them were good workers.
Yeah.
They just had, the place had gotten so bad. I think that's what, I just got fed up with the shit. And
there was nobody keeping any structure. So
I went in there and I took it on my own to say, hey, I'm the manager now. I knew what kind of guy he was. He was a fucking, he's a hard ass. He was a construction, he ran construction crews. He was a champion wrestler. I mean, the guy was, he was a hard ass. He was a really fucking hard dude to deal with. And I mean, I've seen that dude like literally get right in people's fucking face and bun his head right into their head and like literally fucking back them down. Like that dude wasn't afraid to fight. He always had a pistol in his office, and I got along with the guy. You know, shit. He helped us move into our first apartment.
Yeah, that is
Him
true.
And
his son and his son's friends.
Yep. And I've been in fights with his son inside the car wash bays, and his son was a fucking giant.
Yeah, Micah.
Yeah, a giant dude. I mean, he was like 6'8", like probably. I wouldn't say 6'8", 6'5".
Yeah, probably like, yeah.
200, maybe 300, about 320, 345.
Yeah, he was a big boy.
Yeah, it's so funny. And, you know, I remember getting in straight up fights with that dude. And I used to, you know, back then I was doing Muay Thai and, you know, jiu-jitsu and stuff like that early in the past. And I would sit there and just lay Thai kicks on that big fucker's legs. And at the end of the day, we would, you know, hit the ground, hit the concrete, roll around, whatever. He was a wrestler too. You know, that's just the way it was at that point.
Why is it that guys can do that shit? Like,
and get along afterwards.
I know it's like, excuse me, it's like you guys can.
It was about showing dominance over each other.
Oh.
It was about showing dominance over each other. Who was the, you know, he was the owner's kid and I was the manager. So, you know, I dropped him on the ground, threw him on his back,
it seems like a lot of times, though, with a lot of men, it's like you can be good friends with them and then something happens and then you guys have your spat or whatnot or a few good old punches thrown here and there and then you guys are friends again. Like with women, it's just not like that.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, you know. I mean, if you haven't been hitting the face by one of your buddies, I mean, it's like shit just happens, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's why, to be honest with you, I think that's why gay dudes beat the shit out of each other. Because, okay, so remember this, guys, okay? Being straight guys, I'm assuming most of you guys are straight. I'd say probably 95%. And there's that other 5, right? You're married, but, you know.
John,
all right.
You're just keeping it a little bit on the down low.
A little bit on the down low, right? But I'm cool with you. Believe me, I'm cool with you. But, you know, think about this growing up, being around other dudes and shit like that. Like, you ever hang around your buddy for a while that y'all just got on each other's nerves so fucking bad a fight just burst out of nowhere? I mean, that's what you just know. Like, dude, you got to get the fuck away from me for a while, you know?
Yeah.
It just happens. When two dudes are around each other too long, eventually a fight breaks out. It's just the fucking way it happens. And I can imagine like two dudes like living with each other all the time and being in a relationship because eventually they are going to be beating the fucking dog shit out of each other.
Yeah, because of the testosterone.
It just happens.
Yeah.
And the girly dude might win. There's always a girly guy and a manlier version of that. You know.
Yeah. Are you?
This is not a politically correct podcast, motherfuckers.
Huh. Yeah, but
if that offends you, you're part of the 5%, fucker.
Yeah, but you see like two gay guys that are kind of like very similar. How do you know which one's gonna be a little bit more?
You if you paid attention to them for a while.
Is it just the personality?
Well, you'd probably just have to watch them for a while to see which one maybe has like a lisp. Sometimes they have like this, like one of them will talk normal and the other one will just have this like a lisp to him, you know, like hey, you know, it's like hey. and if you pay attention for a while, maybe they are similar, but at one point one of them's gonna slip up.
Ah, I see.
And you're gonna see the girly side come out of that one.
Well, what about women though?
Oh, you ever see a butch woman?
Yeah, but
there
normally
is always a butch woman.
I know, but normally you see those like two of them.
Two butch ones together? There's one of them that's more feminine. Guarantee it.
Oh.
You can't have two fucking men in the relation, like two masculine, like, you know, women in the relationship. They'll just be butting fucking heads.
I guess. Yeah,
and that also,
true.
like, I don't know, you pay attention to it. Like, there's even dudes that are straight that are more feminine that are with manlier women.
That is true.
You know?
And I know some of them.
Yeah, I even know a guy who, I was a member of the BNI up here in Dayton.
Yeah.
And I always thought this guy was gay. Oh, I mean, just by listening to him talk, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, he was a cool dude, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't discriminate against anybody or anything. I just thought he was gay.
Yeah.
And later on, I found out he had a wife. And then when I seen a picture of his wife, she had a crew cut, looked like a military, you know, she was butch as fuck. That's just the way it is. That's the polarity. That's the polarity of attraction. There's got to be feminine and masculine. And it doesn't matter if it's a gay relationship or a lesbian relationship or whether it's a traditional straight relationship. There's going to be a feminine and masculine there.
That's true. Well, I'm glad I have a manly husband because I don't think I could be with a girly husband.
Well, unless you were masculine. If you were masculine, you wouldn't want me as your husband because we would be like two rhinos fucking colliding, crashing our heads against each other.
Oh, well, that's true. That is true.
And there are some relationships. I do see some relationships where you get two that are kind of like big time masculine and they do clash.
Yeah.
You know? I think the ones that'll never last is if they're both real feminine. Because what'll happen is they'll just continue to hurt each other's feelings over and over again until eventually, it gets spiteful and it gets, down into the nitty gritty where, the other person's always thinking like, well, what she said to me the other day. Here's what I'm going to say to her. This is really going to hurt her feelings. And then the girl's going, well, I'm going to make sure I say this and this is going to hurt his feelings and this and that. And, and it just gets so feminine where everything is this, it becomes this contemplation of, one person women, look, I'm just going to be honest with it. A feminine woman, they're going to bitch a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And bitch a lot about this and that and all this kind of stuff. And if the man can't handle that shit, if the man can't just like blow it off, then, next thing you know, the man's going to start like bitching back, right?
Yeah.
Well, then what did I just say? He started bitching back. He becomes a bitch.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they're going back and forth. I mean, think about it, guys. Any dude who you've ever met that's divorced,
mm-hmm.
any man that you've ever met divorced, what do you see this picture of? You see this guy sitting at a bar, and when you start talking to him, he starts telling you how bad his wife treated him and some of the things she said to him, and maybe she wasn't having sex with him.
Yeah.
And, he's just bitching and complaining like a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
And what happened was he got feminized. He may have been masculine to begin with. So he may have been masculine in that relationship to begin with.
Yeah.
But what happens, we're so confused in society right now, where, a man doesn't know if they're a man, a woman doesn't know if they're a woman, right? And the society is so confused that it's easy to get lost and lose, yourself in a relationship.
That's true.
You got to know thyself, y'all. And that's part of the whole thing about the dark side, going full circle with the dark side. Like, look, man, any of y'all want to sit here and tell me you ain't got no fucking dark side, you're fucking lying. Yeah. There's a part of yourself that there's a part of yourself that you've hidden from the world. There's something there, right? What I want to encourage you guys to do is get to know that motherfucker.
So tell me about your dark side, John Hiley.
My dark side, I've channeled my dark energy. I mean, that I've been a person who had a lot of rage control issues.
That is,
ever since
true.
I was a kid, I had rage issues where, I could get so fucking mad that I would get blinded, like angry to the point to where I'm blinded, and them issues still come out today. I mean, not as often.
I think
but
you
there's
have
times,
better control over that now.
Yeah, there's time, but I got a snapping point.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I got a snapping point when it comes to dudes too. Somebody says something a little too crossways with me, I'll fucking fight them. I mean, that's just me.
I know.
It will come out of me. That rage will be pulled out of me.
Mm-hmm.
I've been taught to suppress it, right? And there's times when shit could piss me off and I just don't say nothing at all.
Yeah.
And that's part of my dark side. That's part of the rage. I've learned over time to take that rage, that anger that's built up inside of me and channel it into focus.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of you guys see out there, the things that I do in business, a lot of it's that channeled focus, that rage inside of me, that energy inside of me that's like bubbling and boiling and just ready to go out and be a certified fucking killer.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about it is a lot of you guys might think that I give a fuck about like haters and shit like that. Y'all, I don't even fucking pay attention.
No,
I don't even have time to I don't have time to hate on somebody.
You're in your own little world. You're in your own world.
Yeah, I don't have time. Look, guys, the way I do business, you're never going to see me do business on the defense. You're never going to I'm always on the offense. And one of the reasons why I've told you guys about this, and I think one of the biggest mistakes people make, and I tell people this all the time, is that they start following their competitors around and they start watching what they do and then they start trying to like emulate them.
Yeah.
Well, that may be good for some competitors, but somebody like me who is already thinking like I've got a year worth of plans down the road.
Yeah.
If you copy what I do today, you become a fucking my exhaust. You're the fumes coming out of my car because my destination is over here and you don't even know what the fuck that is.
Yeah. I think in that book, Relentless, he was saying one thing about cleaners. And I even think Jen talks about it too, how to be a badass, is that when there is certain situations that happen, like something that's chaotic, like let's take this, like the coronavirus, right?
Yeah.
Like when something like this happens, like you're going to have people, they're either going to like freak out. Obviously, fear is going to overcome them and they're just going to kind of crumble. Or you have people that are like, they come up with different ideas. They start doing things to where they're still bringing in income to provide for their family. Like they're out there fucking hustling. And I was like, it was either Tim Grover or Jen said something and it just like the light bulb went off and I was like, this is what John's doing. Like when I was talking to my dad's always like, so how's John doing? I'm like, John's doing fucking awesome. I'm like, you know, he excels, like he ignites when shit like this happens. And the only reason why I'm talking about John is because I don't know many people that, you know, are like you or that can actually do something like this. And it's something and for me to be John's wife, like I can just take a step back and like look at what he's doing. And I'm like, this is so fucking awesome because not only is he doing what he does because this is how he is, our son Jonathan sees this. You know, our son Jonathan sees what's going on in this world, but he sees his dad, you know, buckling down, not crumbling or crushing under pressure, and he's just out there like doing his shit.
It's because I don't give a fuck what happens. I could make it in any environment. Environment. I don't give a fuck if I got to live off the land. I'm going to thrive. You know what I mean? And I'm going to take it as a blessing, not a curse. Mm-hmm. And to top it off, guys, there's two things pressure can do. I mean, pressure can burst pipes, but concentrated pressure can cut fucking steel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Concentrated pressure. If you can learn how to, you know, a lot of people, you know, ask me, you know, I actually have people messaging me and shit like that about my book and, you know, mailing the check to the Clinton Foundation and all this kind of stuff, you know. What was I worried about it? I'm like, here's what you guys don't realize. I wanted that pressure. Mm-hmm. Like I wanted to put pressure on myself, so I fucking perform. Like I perform better under pressure.
Yes, you do.
You guys got to learn how to do that. You got to learn how to put that pressure on yourself. And it's good for you. It's good for your mind. It's good for your heart. It's good for your soul. It's like the thing that happens in complacency, you know, where you're worried about too much pressure, you're worried about too much stress, you decay because you're not growing. You only grow outside of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
Okay? Your comfort zone, they call it outside of your comfort zone because it's fucking uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because you have pressure, because you have stress, because you're putting things on the fucking line. You're putting your dick on the chopping block, you know? And guess what? When your dick's on the chopping block, you'll perform. I'm going to give you an example, okay? So some of my coaching clients, I had a guy one time tell me that he couldn't figure this one fucking problem out, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, to me, it just seemed like it was a simple problem. He was just telling me he was so perplexed over this one thing. And I asked him, I was like, let me ask you something, man. I said, what if I had a fucking gun to your head right now? Seriously. I said, I want you to think about this. If I pulled out a fucking gun, a pistol, stuck it right to the back of your head and said, motherfucker, you figure this out or I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah.
How long would it take you to figure it out? No time at all, man. No damn time at all. Because guess what? Now you don't have any excuses to hide from. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and that's another thing, man. I've dealt with some shit over the last few weeks, guys. Like, I fired a client, you know, and I love the guy. I actually love the dude. And I fucking had to fire a client because, I'm just going to say this quite frankly, because his mindset was going to a very, very scarce place. He thought that I was going to be his Dr. Phil and coddle him through a situation.
And that's another thing Jen said in her book, which I absolutely loved. She said, make your brain your bitch.
And guess what? I tell people the way I look at it like this, look, guys, if I don't like your energy, I won't work with you. Period. There's no amount of fucking money you can pay me. If you contact me and you want me to do some work for you, we talk, whatever, we get along, right? And I don't like your energy, I won't work with you. I won't take your money. I don't fucking want it. And there's not any amount of money. There's been people that try to get me to coach them that offered to pay me X amount of dollars. I will not fucking work with somebody. If I feel that being in association with you, that your energy is going to come off and is going to affect me in a negative way, there's no fucking price that I can put on that. Okay? Because I'm very protective about the type of energy. I want fucking killers in my life.
Yeah.
I want people that wake up just like me, wash their fucking balls with ice water. and I don't want people in my life that crumble under fucking little pussy I won't work with pussies. There's been said. You're being a fucking pussy, I will not fucking work with you. Now fuck that. You know what I'm saying? Buckle the fuck up. Get up. Look, man, I've been through all kinds of shit. The last thing I could ever person I'll ever work with is a fucking whiny dude. You're a fucking whiny dude. Get the fuck out of my face. Go talk to Jesus. Get your shit right. Start walking in fucking abundance. Go fucking get faith in your life. Walk strong. Put that fucking armor of a warrior on your ass before you come back and talk to me. Because that's the type of fucking people I demand around me.
Yeah,
okay?
It's just basically working on yourself, especially your mental state and stuff like that. You know, you have to have control over that stuff.
And to be honest with you, as a coach, I'm not no Dr. Phil. I'm shove my fucking foot up your ass. Okay? That's what you guys got to understand. Now, I'm cool with the people that, look, man, don't get me wrong. I'm not a dick to anybody, and I'm cool with people that perform. But people come at me with that scarcity mind loser bullshit. I'm going to call it for what it is.
Yeah, you got to do that. You got to be honest.
You know? And to be honest with you, if somebody's in that mindset, the best thing you can do is shove them into a corner where they've got to fight their own way out.
Exactly. They got to work on
Because
themselves.
if they don't fight their own way out, they're going to be using you or anybody else or any other situation as a fucking crutch.
Yeah, and then basically what they're doing is they are sucking they're sucking your joy, they're sucking your energy, all your good energy, they're just sucking it out of you, and that's not healthy whatsoever.
Yeah, and what's my rule in life, honey? What happens if I wake up in the middle of the night?
If you wake up in the middle of the night and when John told me this, I was like, yeah, maybe this is just not a good idea. Because, like, you never wake up in the middle of the night.
If I wake up in the middle of the night and your fucking name crosses my mind, I'm not working with you anymore.
Yeah.
You know? And
it's nothing personal at all.
Nope.
It's nothing personal at all. It's just, like, you have to build healthy boundaries for yourself. And you have to say what you can and cannot do. And if somebody doesn't put the work in on themselves, like deal with whatever issues they have going on,
scarcity, to me, that's the scariest thing, is when people start walking in scarcity.
Yeah.
That whole mindset, it literally, if you're around somebody that is thinking, there's not enough, scarcity, I'm going to die. It's a fear of poverty is what it comes down to. It's literally a fear of poverty, which stems from like a fear of death. If somebody is stuck in that mindset, I'm telling you guys, if you're spending a lot of time around somebody that's in that mindset, you get the fuck away from them.
Yeah.
Get the fuck away from them. It's not worth it.
Or until at least
they
distance yourself from them and let them put the work that they need to put the work on themselves, and then maybe come back and see where it's at. You know what I'm saying?
Well, a lot of times,
down the road.
A lot of times, once you give them the old, proverbial punch in the face, they never come back at you like that. It's another thing.
True.
You got to teach people how to treat you. And to be honest with you, if I would work with anybody, regardless of the way that they make me felt, and then I would be working in a place of scarcity.
Yeah, that is
I
true.
literally, I'm just like, working with a dude. I'm like, okay, well, dude, I don't fucking need your money. Here, bam, refund, bye.
Yeah. That's true. That is true, John Hiley.
It is true.
It's very, very true.
So we're having a great podcast tonight, I think.
Hey, can we talk a little bit about, because we were talking about this morning, remember? Confidence versus cockiness.
Oh, yeah. We can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, because I really liked, in the book Relentless, Tim Grover talks about that, confidence versus cockiness. It's all good being confident, stuff like that, but if you're fucking cocky...
Cocky, but it's because cocky comes from a place of insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
That means that, see, there's a difference between calm confidence. Calm confidence in general, just, it radiates from you. It's a place of it's strength. It's not too big, okay?
Yeah.
It's not something that you've got to put in people's faces. It's not something you got to let some guy across the room know that you have, okay? Confidence is something that you walk in, that radiates from you, okay? Calm confidence, all right? Cockiness, on the other hand, it's an insecurity because you've got to let everybody know. You know, it's just like it's an overextension. It's like, you know, how do we want to call it? It's like literally inferiority complex. Like it's an overextension of confidence to let everybody know that you have it. So it's insecurity. It's literally an insecurity. It's because, like, okay, if I'm not cocky, if I don't let people know that I'm big, that I'm this guy, or, you know, if I'm not really, you know, showing my persona, I'm not showing them who I am, right? So if I'm not being like this, then nobody's going to think that I'm like this. So then what ultimately they'll know what I already know. Mm-hmm. And what I already know is that I'm not valuable enough to act this way.
Is cockiness kind of like putting themselves on display?
It's just an overextension of your personality. It's like you overextending an emotion to show people, like, you know, to try to make people believe you're a certain way.
Oh.
When you're really not. You know what I mean?
I get
it's
you.
like literally it's an overcompensation for something inside your personality that doesn't believe your own shit. Confidence believes your own shit. Like when, you know, you're a bodybuilder, right? And you're fucking muscular. You walk in and you have confidence, right?
Yeah.
At least in your muscles, right?
Yeah.
You know, you got confidence at least in your muscles, right? But, you know, think about a little dude who has no muscles, who's got to walk in with his chest all puffed out, right?
Yeah.
And he's got to, like, you know, be moving his arms and, you know, flexing them in a certain way, trying to, like, you know, take up more space in a room or something. He's overcompensating for his size, right? So literally cockiness is the same thing. It's like, you know, you're trying to prove to people that you're confident, or you're this fucking big shot, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to prove to people that you're this big shot, but you're really not. Like, everybody in the room can see that you're really fucking not.
Yeah.
Just like the little guy walking around trying to flex his muscles, you know? But you look at it and that guy is trying to feel a certain way. It's literally, it's to compensate for, I think what would be considered like an inferior, you know, you're inferior. You feel like you're inferior. So you have to overcompensate to convince yourself, you know, that you're worthy.
And then you were also saying, like, this morning, it probably stems from something that had happened in their childhood or something of that nature.
Yeah, you know, a lot of that shit does, I think, you know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of stuff comes down to things that happen in people's childhoods.
Why
and
don't
things that
the thing is like,
I think it's because they don't face it. You know, they don't turn and face it.
You know, that is probably one of, like, my pet peeves. Is I'm like, okay, we've all been through shit in our life. We've all been through shit. We all have stories. You know, some of us has had a hand that's been dealt to us that has not been good. Some people might have had a hand dealt to them that's been better. You know, like my dad was telling me, like, okay, so his sister Joanne, she's like my aunt, so she's like in her late 70s, you know, almost getting ready to turn 80. And this woman is still fixated on I was in school and the nuns were so bad to me and told me that I would never amount to anything. I was never going to do anything with myself. So she dropped out of high school and she became a hairdresser. Now, she has other brothers and a younger sister. And her one older brother, which would be my Uncle Eddie, he was the smart guy. You know, it was just book smart. Do you know what I'm saying? But she let all this stuff or whatever just hold her down, like her entire life. And I'm just thinking, like, she's never worked on it. If you bring up a thing of like, hey, why don't you go and talk to somebody? Why don't you go and do this or do that? Maybe it might help. Oh, no. She throws a fit, gets pissed off, starts yelling at you. And it's really sad because I'm like, this woman is almost 80 years old. And she's never probably lived even close to her full potential.
Yeah.
Well,
it's said, like, literally people will look, if you had a toothache, right? If you had a toothache, you would immediately do anything to get rid of that toothache, right?
Exactly.
But people will live their whole life with pain on the inside, and they will never touch it or do anything about it. They will never turn towards it. They'll never explore it. And the key to that is, guys, if you've got inner issues, it's definitely something that's touchy. It's something that if somebody brings it up, it immediately you shut it down. It makes you mad.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know literally what to explore inside of yourself.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And why, I didn't understand, when I was a kid, and none of this is going to get the wifey smiling right here, or at least rolling her eyes at me or whatever. But I mean, I was a straight up ladies man, I mean, I went after, I literally, let's just say I had my fair share of conquests. And
I know. And John has told me a lot of these stories, and I'm like, why the fuck did you tell me this shit?
Well, look, so I've had more. I was like a French au compagnon.
Oh my God.
Who I literally had my fair share of conquest, probably more than fair. I probably may have had enough conquest for you guys too. Okay, let's just say that, right?
John was a man whore.
But literally,
John was a hoe bag.
Like, I understand where that came from.
Yeah.
Like, I know where that came from because I explored inside myself, and it was literally that it was because I was abandoned by my biological mother.
Yeah.
And I remember times when I was a kid, like, she was the only person that I ever wanted to see.
Yeah.
She was the only person, and then, every time that she was supposed to come home, she would never show up. And I remember being disappointed, and I remember talking to her on the phone.
Yeah.
And I remember I just wanted this approval from my mother.
Yeah.
At that age that I could never seem to get. And because of that actually carried on to my later days. I wanted approval from women. And how to get approval from women was my conquest that I went on. I know it sounds like the craziest thing, right? And don't get me wrong. It's not like I was going out there trying to like fuck my mom or something like that, right? But it was an approval thing, know? And I found out later on, and I just remember this as being just a little kid, as a baby, only wanting to see my mom.
Yeah.
And I just remember each and every time, like being, I just remember times of disappointment, times of pain, and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I later on found out that's why I was so chasing women around all the time,
Yeah, but then also, like, when we were together, that was also brought into our relationship, because the thing with John is like, if we would get into an argument or a disagreement, okay, John's way of dealing with this for the longest time was, he's like, I'm going to yell at you louder. I'm going to say everything that I possibly can to cut you extremely deep, like really hurt you.
Yep.
And then I'm going to leave. I'm going to turn off my cell phone so you can't get a hold of me, and I'm going to be gone for a few hours. And that was horrible to deal with. And in all honesty, that's another thing that came from that, because and later on, like, you got to open up and explore yourself. You got to explore where these tendencies come from, right? And where that came from is that I was hurt at such a young age. And I didn't even know, this isn't even things you think about, guys. This is stuff that's like stamped in your fucking subconscious. Yeah.
It's like stamped in you don't even see it as like what it is. You have to explore this shit. It literally just says, your subconscious says, don't let people hurt you, hurt them before they can hurt you.
Exactly. And that's what you did.
And it literally, it has always been, and I know that I still battle with it. I mean, I know it's ingrained, so it gets ingrained so deep in your DNA of who you are, right? Now, do I battle with it like I did? Fuck no. Not even a smidge close, right?
No.
But, I mean, it's literally my defense mechanism was to hurt people before they hurt me.
Yeah, and I've called John out on it. I'm like, you need to stop doing this shit because this is not fucking healthy. Like, Jonathan sees this stuff. What type of example is this being
Sure.
shown
Yeah.
to him as being a man when he gets married? Is this how he's supposed to handle a hot situation?
Now, see how that works, guys? See how that works? I can be a good example on one side of the fence, but then I can be a bad example on the other side of the fence. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's living with your fucking dark side. And I would say if you guys had actually listened to my podcast from day one, I'm a pretty open fucking book.
Yeah, you are.
I'm an open book. You know why? Because if I can't talk about this shit with you guys, if I can't express to you things that I personally dealt with, then what kind of person would I be to tell you to do the same thing?
I know.
You know what I mean?
You've worked on that. You have, you've really worked on that. You've kind of figured out where these issues has stemmed from, and you got to break a really bad habit that you've done for a very long time, and it takes work. That's the thing. It's like, that's one thing. Like, I never gave up on John. I'm like, I know this man is so much more capable than what he even realizes within himself.
And guys, let me tell you something. Before I started working on myself, it was hard to live in my own head. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, it was hard on a daily basis to live inside of my own head. It was hard to be me on a daily basis. It was hard to live with myself. And I mean, that's just real talk. That's truth. Like, I had pain, like fucking darkness, like you wouldn't believe that I lived with on a daily basis. And it wasn't until I opened up and started shining the light in these dark places. All darkness is the absence of light.
Yeah.
So until you open these dark places and you start shining light in there, guys, I'll tell you, man, I love life. Like, I'm not saying I love every moment of it. I still work hard. I still, I actually value pain in a way. Like, I voluntarily fucking jump into a cold shower every morning and wash my fucking balls.
Yeah, but you find a song that's very inspirational and you
so
go
I
with
mean,
it.
I value pain, but I mean, how many of you guys just sit around and just look around at some point and you just go, man, I fucking love life. Like, I love life. Like, I'm loving my life. I love my life, good and bad. It took me a long time to realize that, that I'm part of everything, and I'm not saying I'm getting very, very close to accepting 100% of my dark side, meaning that I feel like I'm shining lights in every single corner of that motherfucker until I find the darkest corner, fucking shine the light on it, expose it, bring it forth. Call it to my attention, address it, and accept it, and accept me as me,
Yeah.
There's a long time I could never accept personally, who I was. I lived the persona, and I'd say probably over the last, I don't know, probably 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I went on a 2-year drinking binge during that time, which was, I went down some bad path, but I'm not going to say I didn't learn about myself.
Oh, there was a lot of lessons I think that was learned. I mean, it definitely, I say it definitely brought us a lot closer. I think you realized how lucky you had a really good family,
Yeah, and ultimately I just realized that that's like, my one thing. That's my fucking the kryptonite, that's the one thing my entire life that I've, anytime I've ever been, anytime shit's went downhill, it's always been when I'm drinking. And to be honest with you, like, I honestly look back at it, and as much as, I was drinking and doing things, I can't believe what I fucking achieved during that time. I mean, I achieved some amazing shit. I stood up, I spoke on stage among, people that are national speakers and, on marketing, and I achieved, on big podcasts, and achieved a bunch of mega media events where, we brought our A game at every fucking event, and somehow I minced it in and lived with it.
Yeah, but I think what it was is, like, as the time went on, and I've said this before, like, your sparkle was starting to dim out.
Well, there's a point where...
And I don't know if a lot of other people noticed it. I mean, I noticed it. Of course, when all this stuff was going on, I was more... I guess I've always just been the type where you just put a smile on your face and you just... you're not one to let a lot of people in. You're wanting to figure it out,
Yeah.
On a personal level.
But internally, myself, I learned a lot about myself during that time.
Yeah, I learned a lot about myself too.
I learned, one of the big things I learned is that, man, you guys could literally call me Teflon John now because, like, nothing fucking sticks to me. Like, I don't give a fuck what, I mean, I just literally, you got some fucking hater out there or something like that, I just fucking block them and leave it alone and then just move on. I don't got time for that fucking shit. Like, none of that shit bothers me. There's not a lot anybody can do that bothers me. If somebody actually does do something that's fucking, if somebody does anything, it's amazing. Besides fucking, copying and they do something original and all, I give them all the props in the world. There's tons of that shit going on out there, right?
Yeah.
And I fucking love it, But, back when I was drinking, I was much more emotional. And, it just, the more that I did it, the more emotional I got. And literally, that's just not a good way to be. You know what I mean? It's not a good way. You can't let things like bother you. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be so confident in who you are and what you're doing and what your goals are in life, what your mission is, what you're about, what kind of fire you bring to the table, where you spend little fucking time. I spend so little time looking at other people. Like, man,
during that time, I can honestly say that, like, now when I take a look back at it, it's like, oh, I can be so disgusted and be like, dear Lord, why did I waste this much of time? Like,
and it's also the people
stuff.
You kick it with too.
But what I look at it is that there was a lot of really good learning lessons that came out of it. And it's like that bad situation turned into something like amazing because the stuff that John and I went through, like, I found my voice.
That is true. That is true. That is true. So, with your voice, young lady, what are you going to say at the end of this podcast?
I'm going to say that
love you long time.
Maybe.
That was before the show.
Oh, right. John.
All right, everybody. So anyhow, we're going to go ahead and bounce out of this podcast. And as usual, we're going to see you on that next one. And what do you say?
I don't know.
She said, Dear John, it's all about your muscles.
No, it's not.
Pew, pew.
Oh, dear Lord.